Graves to play it in. The Orange playing man-to-man defense. Graves looking, played into Heinrich, spins on the left side, fading away, firing, three-pointer. It's over! It's over! The Orange have won it! Syracuse has won the national championship, and Jim Boeheim has found the final 4 seconds here in New Orleans. They're screaming, they're dancing in Syracuse, and the Orangemen are the champions of college basketball!
This is the Upstate Hoops Podcast. Recorded live in the studios of FingerLakes1.com. Let's tip it off. Good evening, Central New York basketball fans. This is the Upstate Hoops Podcast, sponsored by Manae, Miris, and Ricky. Today is Thursday, March 1st, 2012, and this is episode 16 of the Upstate Hoops Podcast. Big night tonight, Verk. We've got championship game set for the Blue Cross this weekend. Syracuse is closing out a historic regular season on Saturday against Louisville. We're going to have Connor's Corner, where we're going to talk about some potential Big East tournament matchups. And we've got 2 guests in the studio tonight, 2 coaches who will be coaching at the Blue Cross Arena. Joe Pysnack of DeSales and Zac Young for Lyons. So how you doing, Burke?
Good. What's going on, Jim?
Might as well welcome to the show, Coach Young. How you doing? Welcome back.
Good, Jim. Good to be here.
Here earlier in the year with Trey Johnson and Derek Fair and Coach Pysnack. How's it going, Joe?
Very good, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is awesome. Congratulations, first of all. Not easy to get to the big house, as Minders found out last night. You guys are going shot at a sectional title. That's everybody's goal, I think, for the season. I think we talked when you were in here earlier, Zach. What was it? January?
Yeah, around January.
Yeah, you mentioned, that being a goal, and everything else kind of being icing after that. So, what do you think, Verk? We got a first-hand look at Zach's team, and
I know you had a big semifinal win there against Letchworth. I know you. I don't know if you. I know you kind of talked about Perry a little bit, and Letchworth ended up beating them, and then you had a big overtime win. Can you just tell us a little bit about that semifinal win to get to the finals?
Well, I thought the top 5 teams in our bracket were pretty high-quality teams. And to be honest with you, I was kind of glad when Perry and Letchworth had to play each other because that meant one of them were going to be gone, that we didn't have to go through both of them. So Letchworth is it's the most physical team I've seen in Class D, C, or B in a long time. I mean, they have in their senior class, they have 4 Division I athletes.
Really?
Which you don't really see at a smaller school.
They're a state title winner in football.
Title winner in football. They had 2 players. The Bacon boy for them was he was a Division I running back. He's going to Akron. He's going to a junior college. He was their point guard. They had another big kid, I think Andrews, who was going to either Cornell, all for football, not for basketball, but. And then this Ryan Owens is he's the best kid I've played since I've been coaching, best kid I've played against, and he had a pretty monster game, but we were able to survive. It was
69-59 overtime, right?
Yeah. I mean, we won by 10, but it was we were winning most of the game, but it was never comfortable. Like it was 3 or 4. We got up 50-42 in the 4th, and I thought we were going to pull away, and Owens just kind of took over. He made a 3, he made a and 1, he made a pull-up jumper, and we were just trying to milk the clock a little bit, and we were up 2 with about 45 seconds left. We took a contested shot with about 20, and Owens got it, and he raced down the court, and we had 3 guys on him. He went to his right, hit a pull around left, and Davin Veter missed a 3 to send it to overtime. And then in overtime, they scored first. It was the first time actually since 2-0 we'd been trailing. And the game came down to basically, it was a break for sure, but it was a hustle break. We were down 2. I called a timeout, and we got the inbounds pass stolen, and Letchworth was going for a layup, and Derek Farah and Maurice Wells, instead of Maurice and Derek, it was a miscommunication between them. They didn't put their head down. They raced after it. Mm-hmm. The kid missed a layup, I'll give Maurice a lot of credit for that. He snatched up and grabbed it, and he got a foul over the back. He made 2 free throws. We got a steal. Maurice scored again. We hit a 3, and it was just we had a 12-0 run from there. So
nice.
Pretty big to the momentum swing in the game was just it was wild. It was wild, and kids were pretty excited afterwards, as they should be. But you get to the semifinal level. I think that most people would agree. You're going to face a good team. Very rarely do you get to the semifinals unless you're, head and shoulders above everybody. You're going to get a good team. So we got them, and now we play a totally different style team in Cuba Rushford, who's very, very guard oriented, similar to us. I think 5 out. They run a lot of 5 out motion, and it'll be fun. They got 4 kids that shoot 40% from the arc. So we worked a little bit on prepping that, and should be fun.
Yeah, Cuba Rushford comes in. I think they're 19-1. Obviously had a great year. It's the seats held in this bracket. You got a 1 versus 2. Looks like it's everything that everybody could wish for. 1 versus 2 in the final. And it seems like you guys put up 95 points in the quarters, or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
And,
Pavilion was a little overmatched.
Yeah.
But we shot the ball. We shot about 60% from the arc.
Do you feel like you guys are peaking at the right time right now?
To be honest with you, I didn't. The last time I don't think we played well was the game that you guys broadcast, the Clyde game. I didn't think we played well, but we found a way to win.
Right.
And then the games after that, we played North Rose at home. We played really well, and we had a couple scrimmages that I think was good for us. Like we scrimmaged Pelmac, and just playing that level up, we scrimmaged Pelmac, and it was like kind of an eye opener. Like, we're not the Kings of Wayne County anymore.
Right.
So we played.
Pelmac's another team still alive.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I saw Coach Harris today. So we scrimmaged Pelmac, and then we went and scrimmaged Wayne, and we scrimmaged Dundee, who all had pretty good regular season. So that was like an extra 3 games, and then we played well versus Pavilion. I thought, even if we lost versus Letchworth, we played at a high level. So you can sleep at night if you play at a high level and lose. Obviously, you'd like to win, but we played at a pretty high level, and that's what you want. You want to go out with your best shot. You don't really want to have a poor performance and lose. That's a tough way to end the season.
Sure. And one thing I noticed that Cuba Rushford is going to have to prepare for is you guys are really balanced. It seems like you get 4 or 5 guys in double figures on a nightly basis. It's not like you can just focus on a Derek Farrar or Trey Johnson. You had
Wells was the leading scorer the other night, and he usually isn't the leading
scorer.
No,
no, but Maurice has had some big games, and his quickness and his confidence the second half of the year has been much better. So between, we kind of have our group of 4, the Veeder boy, Farah, Wells, and Trey. And they're, any one of them can go for 15 points on a night. And then we have a couple other role players that usually chip in, anywhere between 6 and 8. Alex Mussolino one night had 17 versus Clyde. He kind of likes the big game atmosphere a little bit more. But we're pretty balanced. And Cuba's pretty similar. They have a player, Taylor Rose, who's he's been playing Cuba Rushford, I think, for 75 years. He's won a bunch of sectionals in baseball. He's a quarterback for football. He's very similar to Derek. He's a 3-sport athlete. And he'll shoot it. He'll shoot it from anywhere. But he only averages 15, and they have a bunch of 3 other kids that average 10. So as far as balance wise, it's when you look at the stats on paper, it's pretty similar.
Nice. When's the last time you guys were in the finals?
I believe it was 06.
06
That was the shot
when Stevie won it.
Steve Veeder was the coach, and Isaiah Scott hit that runner as time expired. Actually, if you go to YouTube and you type it in, you can see it. It's kind of wild. The place went kind of crazy.
Right.
But that was the last time I think they even got to the finals.
Well, cool. Coach Pysnack, you also had a big game on Tuesday night?
Tuesday night, yeah.
Tuesday night in a gym you're familiar with in Bloomfield, another Finger Lakes West gym, but just a total shootout, 97-84 over CG Finney to advance to the sectional championship. It's a 32-minute game, and you guys scored 97 points. What was it like?
It was crazy. It was nonstop from the time the ball got tossed up, and it was we didn't expect the pace quite that fast. We knew it was going to be fast, and we practiced against it and we prepared for it. We didn't think it'd be quite that fast, but it was. And they were coming down and a pass or two and putting the ball in the air. It caught us off guard a little bit initially, but we were able to turn around and run our own transition and stuff. So it was crazy, just the pace of that game. It just didn't stop.
So how did it play out? A was it a game of runs? I mean, I saw the final 97-84. I was like, holy cow! I couldn't imagine. What was it? A game of runs?
It was a game of runs because we built a couple different leads. We built a lead by like 22 at one point, and then they cut into it, and then we built it back up, and then in the fourth quarter they had cut into it a bit because they jacked up a lot of threes in the fourth quarter. But we were able to go to the free throw line late in the game, and we hit 9 of 15 in the fourth quarter to to seal the victory for us.
Yeah, Canale had 36. Tom Canale, we talked about him a lot on this podcast. And Keyshawn Nelson and the other usual suspect, 26. 62 points between those two guys.
They're not afraid to put it up, but they deserve it too because they certainly can score. I mean, we know they certainly have the capabilities to score. And Keyshawn can drive the basket. He's been able to drive to the basket all year long. Thomas, he'll get his points in a variety of fashion. He'll get them from the post. He'll get them from the wing on the three. He'll take some guy off the dribble. So
he's becoming a small forward type of player.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. He can create his own scores, and he does very well at it.
How much do you know about Whitesville?
We've had them scouted and stuff. They play a zone the whole game is what we're taught, and then they have a real good guard, and they lost their big man this year who got injured. He got hurt, and he's done. He was done for the year. But they have another guy that they run the offense through in the post. So we're just trying to.
So you plan on seeing a lot of zone then Saturday, huh?
Yeah, everything we've seen and heard, it's all zone. So we're prepared for it.
What now? You typically like to get up and down the floor?
Our guys do, yeah. We got some speed now, and we're able to get the ball out. We got some guys that crash the boards with Ray Sims, Nick Edgar, Mike Craig. They crash the boards, and so they do a big damage in there. So look for the quick outlet to either Thomas or Keyshawn or Isaiah Merced, somebody coming off the bench, so that we can get some easy scores.
Sure. And we doing this podcast that we started this year. We followed the Finger Lake West very closely, and obviously the top of that league, the top 4 or 5 teams are very good, and you guys are kind of playing bigger schools all year long, and that probably really helped you. Playing a Dundee, a Honeoye, Bloomfield, got you ready for sectionals. Obviously, with the way you guys have been playing lately.
It's always a plus to play up when you can, and again, like you said, that definitely prepares you for something like this going forward. Because certainly last Tuesday was no easy game, and Saturday's not going to be easy either.
Sure. Yeah, that league was crazy this year. It seemed like. I think you guys was it Honeoye twice?
Dundee.
We beat Dundee
you guys
twice.
beat Dundee twice. Dundee beat Honeoye or Bloomfield twice. I can't remember which one, but it was those 4 teams at the top all season long.
Yep.
But you guys are still playing. I don't.
Honeoye
beat Dundee. That was a great matchup.
Dundee beat Honeoye twice in regular season, and then Honeoye beat him
pretty handily too.
Yeah, I guess I talked to Jeff Panic, the AD. He was at the game, and he said it was pretty close, nip and tuck, and then Honeoye just made a bunch of shots, and Dundee couldn't throw it in the ocean.
Well, obviously, the thing that stood out to me was Camacho had 10 points. It's I know they really
probably his low for the year. I would think, isn't it?
Yeah. We had their coach came on, and they relied on him. He was averaging 20 points a game, getting 7 or 8 assists. Yeah. I don't know exactly what Honeoye did, but
I'm pretty sure I talked to Coach Parsh the other day. He said they did a boxing one.
Yeah.
He was obviously their focus, so
sure.
A lot of boxing one, and he said they just shot it well.
Joe, when was the last time DeSales was in the finals?
I believe it was 06.
06?
Yep.
Did they win it that year?
Dave LaRocca had them that year.
Okay.
Yeah, they won it that year. Yep.
Okay. I lose track after a while of all these things.
Yep.
So, great. I mean, you guys both playing for sectional finals on Zach plays Saturday night at 7:30. Is that the game?
We play tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow night at 7. That's right.
Yeah,
all the C's are tomorrow night. And what time's your game, Joe?
Saturday at 1.
Saturday at 1. That's a little different.
It is. Normally the
game.
D's play at 10 o'clock in the morning, so
right.
they're not usually awake yet. Now we got a little time to wake up in the morning. So
that's right.
What about Honeoye? They're a big team. They got some big guys on that team.
Yeah, they're pretty good size. We struggled against them twice. They beat us twice this year.
Is that where Kratsley plays?
Yes.
Honeoye?
Yep, Ben Kratsley. Yep.
He's their big scorer.
He's their scorer there. Yep.
And then Pal Mac, we mentioned still live. Either you guys get a chance to play Pal Mac this year?
We scrimmaged them.
Oh, you scrimmaged them. Tell us.
Yeah, they fundamental, very fundamental, and played pretty good defense. I thought they were very well coached when we played them, and we scrimmaged them at 11 in the morning. Like I said, it was our first scrimmage after we beat up a couple teams, so it was good for us. It was kind of a little bit of a wake up call. They handled us pretty good in a couple quarters, and then we kind of said, "Oh, hey, we got to play a little bit here," and it was good for us. But Coach Harris does a good job.
They had Jim, just Palmac lost to Miners in double overtime.
Yeah.
And then, they pretty much had them beat up at Palmac also. Miners, those are two games that Miners kind of pulled out. But Palmac and they got Charlotte, so that should be a good game.
Yeah, I think
But
they
beat
just got to
Newark.
handle their pressure. And Newark,
Gave
from
Charlotte
what I
a
heard,
game.
they gave them a real handful last
62
night.
on Wednesday night.
I mean, from what I heard from I was at the bruncheon today, is all the finalist coaches were, and Newark was down, I think 14-0 to start the game or something like that, and they came all the way back and actually took the lead in the fourth.
Yeah.
And they needed to stop, but they just
I saw the article in the paper, and I think Newark was winning with 2 minutes to go or 3 minutes to go.
Newark's a different team now. They got Lombardi back. He's
okay.
He's a forward. We scrimmaged him in the preseason, and the day before we scrimmaged him, he had a unfortunate injury with his ankle, doing something that I'm sure he probably regrets. I won't put it on the podcast.
All right.
It involves a trampoline. We'll just save it at that. So, and he's a pretty good kid. He plays AAU with some of our kids.
Right.
And once they got him back, I mean, they beat Wayne, and
Right.
they're a lot more formidable team.
Yeah, and obviously found the Finger Lakes. The big surprise last night was Wellsville beating Minders. I think I didn't go to the game. I thought they would handle them personally, and I think maybe some of the Minders players thought that they're going to walk through that game as well.
41-32.
Just
It
the
was
total
9-8 at half.
9-8 at half, 18-14 going to the fourth. This is a Minders team that probably averages close to 70 points a game, I'd say. And, obviously a big upset, and, all the credit goes to Wellsville, especially after last year Minders played them in the semis and beat them 70-something to 20-something. So for them to come out and play with confidence and beat Minders, I give them all the credit in the world.
Yeah, it was the result of a loss was shocking, but the
way
score,
it happened, the way it went down was a little unusual. But
I haven't seen that low scoring of a halftime game.
9-8. I mean, the shot clock is unheard of.
I read it on my phone, like somebody was there doing the game, and it said 9-8, and I said, "Nah, it's got to be a typo." And then later I checked the box score, and I was like, "Oh my god, it was 9-8."
I think I don't think anybody would believe that score with it's a Minders team that really likes to get out and run, and they press, and they like to score the ball. But Wellsville took the air out of the ball, and they burned the shot clock up, and played great defense, obviously, and came away with the victory.
Now, you guys were at the banquet today. Where was that?
Yeah, it was at Burgundy Basin Inn in Pittsford.
I've been there.
Yeah,
for
it's
a
very
wedding.
nice.
Nice
Yeah,
place.
all the teams that are finalists go. Their coaches go, and I brought my captains. I think
You bring a couple
captains as well,
players.
yep.
Yeah,
Nice.
so there's 20 teams there, and they have little Burkett Mills sponsored it, which was nice. They were the main sponsor, and you got a little brunch, and then each player, there was one player from each team got up and talked a little bit about their season. So it was cool. It was nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was a great event.
Yeah, and that comes off the heels.
the kids
of,
were happy because they got out of school.
You were at a
That
number one seed banquet too last
Yeah.
week or 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, that was at the same place. That was a little more, that was your whole team goes, and that was open to parents, and I think York brought a quarter of their town. They brought a lot of people, and there was a lot more people at that. That was a little more fancy than this. This was still nice, though. I kind of liked it a little bit better because obviously you're in the finals, so you're
Sure,
feeling pretty
everybody's in a good
Yep.
mood.
Yeah, all the coaches are in a good mood, and you get to talk. I know I talked to about 7 or 8 guys that I have contacts in different leagues and stuff. So it was fun.
Awesome. Did one other score that kind of stood out to me was that Bishop Kearney Franklin game.
Yeah.
I was surprised Franklin had a real shot at beating them. And
I was rooting for Franklin.
yeah, I mean, I was kind of pulling for him too, just because Bishop Kearney's been so dominant over the years. And
at the number one seed banquet, actually, like Aquinas is the other big.
Yep.
A couple people were booing him.
yeah, it's they got some advantages,
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
You should mention too, East Rochester still alive out of the Wayne County League.
Yep. Yeah, they played right after us on Monday.
You had an easy time with Avon, 60-33 at RIT.
Yeah.
Nadu had 16. Trevor had 14. And they move on to play Pembroke, a number 3 seed.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be much of a game, personally.
No,
I'll give predictions on that game, but yeah, I think Coach Michaels, he really had that matchup zone, was very active. We stayed we were going to stay till halftime versus Avon, and it was like 14. It was like 14-4, and I just looked at the boys and they said, "Well, I think this is over." You could just tell they were the better team.
now, not to look ahead, but how's the playoffs going to work in C's? Is it depending on who wins
The
and records and
C's
stuff like that?
is, we all
there's 3 of you.
Yeah, we all play Friday tomorrow. Actually, we all
Right.
play Friday, and what happens is the winners of the 5:00 game and the 9:00 game, which is the C1 and the C3, will play Monday at a site to be determined. The winner of our bracket gets a bye, and that's based on that we're both 17-1. So it goes on your sectional
points.
Yeah, so that's
so you guys had the most sectional points basically.
We had the most, but if if Cuba happens to beat us, they had more than any of those teams. So the winner of the game Monday, whoever survives that, plays
play you guys
the winner
Wednesday.
of our game Wednesday, and then the winner of that plays in Upstate. I think that's how. And I think for D's it's just a one playoff game.
Just
right?
one playoff
It's the
game.
D1,
Yep.
D2. They'll probably make that game Wednesday a doubleheader, I would think. Maybe
Tuesday or Wednesday, I was
Tuesday or
told. But
Wednesday.
I'm not
Great
sure. I don't know
games
for
to
sure
watch.
which.
It looks like
Pair of games to webcast.
I don't think we're not allowed to though. But in the other D brackets, Batavia and Alba. Is that what it is? I mean, Batavia looks like they've been just Notre Dame. Batavia has been running through people. It looks like and
Very
they're
strong.
another school who seems to always be there, and obviously, but we'll see how all that plays out and stuff. Obviously, I know you'd like to get a shot at them, which means you're a sectional champion. So
Yep, that's definitely the case. That's what their guys are hoping for.
Are you a Duke fan like your brother? Or?
I am.
Oh.
I am because then
I know that
most of
'cause-
the guys on my team, the guy I coach with, are all Carolina fans. So
Me and Joe worked together a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
And I know he likes Duke. And one time, Dennis, Joe's brother Dennis, big Duke fan, was running the youth league basketball, and I noticed that the team names weren't. They used when we played Verk, they were Pittsburgh, BC, Syracuse, Georgetown, UConn. Well, I'm posting the league schedule for the SenecaFalls.com website that Dennis sends over, and I look and I see North Carolina playing Duke.
He switched it over the ACC schools on you?
Yeah, well, he mixed some in, so I called him up and told him how I felt about that, but he wasn't hearing it. So I think you got to stay true to your hometown
hometown or home state.
I agree. OSU.
Well, yeah, that's going to be tough. Actually, you're going to be playing at the same time Syracuse is playing Louisville.
Yeah, we're gonna have guys wanting to be checking their phones and stuff during the game, and I'm not sure that's going to be the case. So.
Well, hey, good luck, guys. Zac in Lyons on Friday night, and Joe in DeSales on Saturday at 1:00, and hopefully the season will continue.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you guys are welcome to hang out. We're going to shift gears now and talk about Syracuse.
I'm going to take off because we play tomorrow. But I would like to say, guys, I appreciate all you guys are doing. I know our kids are excited about this, and the webcast was great. And they want you to come to the Atwood next year. They said they don't know where you're going to put the camera. You might have to do it on the ceiling.
Well, we'll figure
I
out
want
a
you
way.
to come, or if we might be back at the community center. So
Now, we'll definitely do that. There's plenty of accommodations
Yeah.
for press in that building.
Yeah, but the Atwood,
Well, Jim also today met with Bob Ullman. We might be doing some. He wants them to webcast some of the baseball league there in Newark.
Newark
Oh,
Pirates
nice.
baseball.
So
Nice.
he was over there meeting
Yeah,
with,
Bob's he does a ton for our school.
Very
It's great.
excited. Yeah,
ton
yeah.
for our community.
Yep.
and he saw the webcast.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yep.
how he got in contact.
Yeah, we
with Jim
had. I
and
know
stuff,
the Farrell boy had an uncle from Arizona who watched it live. My cousin from Sale got out of work at 4:00 and he was watching it live.
I love that stuff.
great.
It's,
That's
it's
great.
almost surreal in a way.
Yeah, it was great. He just was. He was like, he asked me actually if the game tomorrow was being webcast, and I said no.
we got shot down.
Yeah.
Section 5 said, I think we talked about it, no live webcasts, and hopefully next year maybe Time Warner will pick it up in the Blue Cross, or if not, maybe Finger Lakes One.
Yeah, well, another issue is there's a short lead time for those semifinal games. We don't know where they're going to play, who's going to play who,
it's all
where.
sites to be determined now.
Because I think if there was a little time, we might be able to, say, hey, we can raise this much sponsorship. If we paid this much, could we do that game?
Right.
But it's too bad because the kids and all the families.
It's just nice to watch it afterwards too. Yeah.
They really enjoy it, and we enjoy bringing it. But next year, regular season, we're gonna come out to the Finger Lakes West. We're gonna definitely get a DeSales game on the schedule, and now that we definitely got to book a date at the Atwood Gym, and but we're gonna do a game a week all season long. So
Nice.
Great.
So definitely looking forward to that. But good luck again, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right.
Take
Good
care.
luck.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
No problem.
Well, Verk,
Do a sponsor?
yeah, we should talk about our sponsor. Midday Mirrison Ricky, attorneys at law. Hey,
See you, Joe.
See you. Thanks, guys. I got to go grab the folder with the info.
Uh-oh.
A second.
All right, Jim's got to take a technical break here. He's getting the information with everything.
There we go. Medeiros and Ricky. Okay, Medeiros and Ricky, attorneys at law. Fine sponsors of the Upstate Hoops podcast. If you've been hurt, had an accident, and you feel you deserve compensation, let's get serious about it. Go to somebody who's going to, take your case and treat you as an individual and not, kind of run you through the old process and try to get a quick settlement. If a settlement's what's going to work best in your case, then that's what they're going to do. If they think that you should pursue litigation, that's what they're going to advise because, they're honest. Located in the Bank of America building, 54 Fall Street in Seneca Falls, 315-568-5861. It's a free, no obligation phone consultation. So you can't lose. 315-568-5861. If you got something on your mind, give them a call. Like I say, you got nothing to lose. It's almost sad, Virk, that the Syracuse season, this great season, is coming to an end. There's one game left.
Well, now it's time to get serious, really. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what you play for, and you kind of obviously it's been fun watching these guys play all year, and it's definitely been exciting. But now it's time to get ready for the Big East tournament, and obviously this team is going to be judged on. I think obviously the regular season's pretty much over. One more game. They have obviously had the best regular season in Syracuse history, I believe.
Nothing to play for this game. Really?
No, not really. Obviously, they want to get the win. Undefeated at home. That's something to play for.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I think
Good
it's only
point.
happened
Good point.
one other time.
Yeah.
But,
And senior day is always,
Yeah,
you don't want to go out with a loss if you're Chris Joseph or Scoop.
sure, especially Chris Joseph, he's the winningest player in Syracuse basketball history now.
Might as well get another one.
That's right. And, you want to play well going into both these tournaments coming up. But this team's really going to be judged on how well they do come March NCAA tournament time, I think. And, they're prepared to make a deep run. They're going to be a number one seed. But obviously they got to show up and do it.
Yeah, all season long I've never been nervous watching this team play. I've always felt they're going to pull it out, but that all changes now. March 1st is today. It's officially March Madness. Wow. You got Louisville Saturday, then right into the Big East tournament Thursday, which I'm going to be at the Big East tournament, Upstate Hoops fans. So I'll be able to bring you some perspective, hopefully, of a Syracuse Big East tournament championship. And then immediately it's Sunday, Selection Sunday. We're going to be back here at 9 o'clock that night with a special session of the Upstate Hoops podcast. But, yeah, this is the best time of the year.
And this weekend's a great weekend. Obviously, you got the big tournaments. You got the smaller schools, the small conferences, the non-BCS conferences all have their tournaments going on, which are all automatic bids, and a lot of those schools need to win their tournament to get in. Obviously, you don't see a lot of these mid-majors getting at large bids over maybe 3 or 4 a year. So lots on the line, even more so than in the big tournaments. In the bigger tournaments, I think they're playing kind of for seeds usually, unless you're at the tail end of some of those leagues. Most of those teams are already set, unless you get a team with a losing record who's looking to make a run in their tournament to get into the NCAAs. But like the Colonial, all these the Butlers, the William Marys, all those teams. This is what it all boils down to, and it's basically win or go home. So.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like playing games for the NCAA tournament for these mid majors and really exciting basketball. So yeah, the madness is underway, without a doubt. Coming up on Scoop's and Chris's last game is a Syracuse Orangemen in the Dome. Everybody's been trying to comparing, Scoop's career and saying, who does he match up with, and I think, given what he's done this year, it has elevated him up there, maybe even past like a Jason Hart.
Yeah, I was never a huge Jason Hart fan.
Me neither. I was never a big Scoop fan either.
Yeah, Scoop this year, he's he seems to. He's obviously had a few rough games this year, but more so than in the past. It seems like his good games outnumber his bad games, and when he's good, he's been great. Whereas in the past, when he's been bad, he's been horrible. He hasn't had that many games. He's had probably 2 or 3 games this year where like, man, Scoop really sucked that game. But especially recently, I think he's almost become their go-to guy kind of late. He's won a couple games for him late, hitting some big shots. He really settles the team down. He didn't play that great against UConn necessarily this past game, but not bad. And I think he's a key for them. Obviously, he's their senior leader, him and Joseph. So we look for them to lead him into the tournament.
Yeah, there's like intangibles, too, that we don't see on the court that Scoop brings in the locker room with a team with so many personalities and, issues off the court this year, too, with the Bernie Fine situation. So I guess this team kind of needed that leadership. And the fact that they're 29-1 heading into the last game of the regular season shows me that whoever's leading this ship's doing a pretty good job. Did you know that right now Scoop Pardine has 400 less assists than Sherman Douglas did in his career?
I did not know that.
Which is amazing. It's not a knock on Scoop. It's really shows how
when
amazing.
Sherman left Syracuse, he was the all-time
NCAA.
I don't know exactly where he ranks now. I think Bobby Hurley ended up being ahead of him, and I think even like a Chris Corciani or somebody like that might have been ahead of him. But it shows you how good Sherman really was and how many assists he had. Yeah. They have 400 more assists than Scoop had. So
yeah, he's got to be one of my all-time favorites, the general. And he follows the Pearl, the greatest icon in Syracuse history, and then Sherman immediately in his sophomore year leads him to the final game against Indiana.
And I think the point guard for North Carolina now might leave as the all-time NCAA leader in assists when it's all said and done. He broke the North Carolina record to be Ed Coda's record for assists in the season, Marshall for North Carolina. Yeah. So he's an incredible passer, and but just to the fact that Sherm had that many assists is unreal.
Yeah, because Scoop's averaging 5 a game, averaging 8.9 points a game, only 2.2 turnovers a game this season. A steal and a half per game, a rebound and a half per game. And then you got Joseph in his senior campaign averaging 14.2 points a game, 5 boards a game, which is pretty good out of that 3 spot usually. Just shy of 2 assists a game, 1.4 steals a game, and 1.3 turnovers a game, which I find that hard to believe. But really, that's the number for the year. That is a spot he definitely improved from his junior or senior year with the turnovers.
Yeah, he's had some big ones in his career, but he seems to have cut down on those this year, and he's been doing a great job at the point spot.
No charges, a little less the turnovers when he's trying to take someone. If you had asked me, I would have guessed that number was a little higher, but he has improved on that. And he's a good free throw shooter, and he's got a shooting touch back. He's really the only one that's gotten the shooting touch back. Was raining them down in the past couple games.
Yeah, just thinking back to that UConn game, it was nice to see Syracuse come out and shoot the ball well. Obviously, especially in the first half when they built a big lead, they kind of got a little bit lethargic in the second half. But it was just amazing the way Joseph was hitting shots and Waiters was knocking down some shots and Trish and Scoop. It's nice to see because you really hadn't seen them shoot the ball like that in a few games. But it was great to see them have that. They really showed their offensive skills that game.
Now I heard a rumor. Well, I don't know if it's a rumor, but a theory that Boeheim has been holding Michael Carter-Williams back until he's going to unleash him now in March, playing more minutes in the biggest tournament and in the NCAA tournament.
Well, I'd like to see it. We talk about it a lot on here. We're both big Michael Carter-Williams fans, and I don't see him getting too much more time, but I'd like to see him in there for 10 minutes a game just to, I think he's at times better than a Brandon Trish at this point, and I guess it's almost just put him in there and see what happens. Give him 5 minutes. If he plays well, leave him in. If not, pull him back out and go with the veterans.
Yeah, I love what he brings defensively. I think he deserves more minutes. I like Michael Carter-Williams, and if he's going to help us make this run, I say that to give him the time.
At least see what he does. And Boeheim talked about playing more guys. He did that against UConn. He got more guys in there, and Carter Williams played good again. He banked in a 3, but then he had 2 nice assists. Both fed Fab for 2 dunks, and he's great defensively in that zone. He's lanky, and I think he's going to be a lights out point guard next year.
Next year's good, yeah.
I really look for him to be the leader for Syracuse at the point in the next few years.
Yeah, so the future is definitely bright, and who knows? Will this be the last home game for Fab Melo or Deion Waiters as well?
I saw I caught a little bit about that, and they were talking about that, and they said Deion right now is a late first-round pick, and Fab Melo is a second-round pick. So given that, I don't think they're hopefully they get that information as well, and I don't think they're going to be looking to go pro unless they have issues in the classroom where they decide they're going pro already and decide to blow off classes or whatever, which happens quite often, and they don't really have a choice except to turn pro.
Yeah, sometimes it's they don't go to class, so to cover for that, they just go pro.
Yeah. But how many teams you got in from the Big East right now getting in the tournament?
Oh, geez. Well, let's figure that any team that's in this past week's AP Top 25 is in. So that would be Syracuse, Marquette, Georgetown, Notre Dame, and Louisville. I think South Florida gets in with their big win at Louisville. I think that's the marquee win they need. They're 12-5 in the Big East.
Yeah,
how can they not?
I think South Florida and Cincinnati both got in. South Florida won at Louisville. The big knock on them was they didn't have a big win. They won at Louisville.
And Cincinnati picks up a big win the other night against Marquette. It's
beating Marquette, who's they were ranked. Marquette was seventh in the country at the time. You look at a lot of these guys. The knock on South Florida is they're 2-10 against the top 50 or something like that. But
not anymore though with that Louisville win.
Right,
it's another one.
It's a big win, but
you can't leave them out.
You got 12 wins in the Big East. I don't. Yeah. They're still talking about Illinois out of the Big Ten, who's like 7.
Terrible.
They're 5-11 or something. A lot of it. Connecticut. I don't. Joe Lunardi had 10 teams as of today from the Big East getting in.
Yeah, that would mean Seton Hall, West Virginia, Connecticut.
Right, and right now I got those 3. I see one of those getting in between Seton Hall, West Virginia, and UConn. UConn's falling apart. They're 7-10.
17-12 overall.
The thing that they got going for them is their number one strength of schedule. They've played a great schedule. Yep. They got a fair amount of wins against top 50 RPIs. But they're 7-10. They've lost a few in a row now. They got one game left. I think they got to win their last Big East game and win a game or two in the Big East tournament to secure a spot. Same with West Virginia and Seton Hall. Those are 2 teams. West Virginia got a strong strength of schedule. Seton Hall really doesn't, but
they do have some decent wins.
They got some decent wins, but I see West Virginia. I got West Virginia having a better shot than Seton Hall at this point. But I think the other 7 teams from the Big East are pretty much locks at this point.
But like you said, Virk, when you're comparing Seton Hall, West Virginia, and Connecticut on the bubble with teams like Illinois or Northwestern.
Everybody's talking about Northwestern. I don't see them getting in either. They got a losing record. I'd like to see them go more than anything, just because Bill Carmody is their coach. I kind of know him a little bit from he was a Princeton coach at a time, and they're the only team from a BCS conference who's never made the tournament.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and
they've been close the past couple of years.
That Ohio State game last night was just a heartbreaker for them. I was really rooting for them to win that game, but I just don't think they have the resume to get in right now.
So I think when you match up, and then I think that one thing that Lenardi's doing, the reason he has 10 in, that we really haven't taken the time to do is to kind of lay out the whole field. And,
sure.
And I think when you do, I think that these teams look a little bit better when you get down around the 65th team.
It's tough. When you compare a Seton Hall to a Virginia Commonwealth,
good point.
Don't put their names up there, and you look at their wins versus top 50, and everybody wants Virginia Commonwealth to get in, but in reality, Seton Hall might have the better resume. Some of these mid-majors kind of screwed themselves early by not winning a lot of games. I obviously follow the Colonial pretty closely. Drexel's won 20, or not Drexel. Yeah, Drexel's won 24 out of 25 games. And I think if they make the CAA finals and end up losing, they still get in. VCU, I think, if they make the CAA finals, they might have a shot in at large, but I think VCU's got to win the tournament this year to get in.
Well, maybe we should continue this conversation with our buddy Brad down in Cincinnati, because he certainly will have some information and opinions to share. It's time for Connor's Corner. Hello, Brad.
You guys,
All right.
March.
It is March, and I'm feeling a little mad. I don't know if you heard, Brad, but I'm going to the Big East tournament.
You know, I heard that just a few minutes ago, and my jaw dropped. I said, why didn't I get a call for that?
Yeah, well, we're going with some friends, and actually as guests. So it was an
They're easy to come by over here.
Yeah, it was an unexpected invite, but going down for Friday and Saturday's games, so pulling really hard for the Cuse to win on Thursday, whoever they play, which is not going to be an easy win, whoever it is. So that's going to be probably one of the most nerve-wracking games that I've watched this year, knowing that if they win, I'm going to see them in Madison Square Garden on Friday, and if they lose, I'm going to see the team that beat them.
Yeah, there's a lot personally at stake for you on that one.
Yep, absolutely. So, as usual, on Connor's Corner, we like to start off with a little trivia. Last week we got into some Section 5 history. It ended up being a really nice conversation. A few people have commented to me that they heard it and enjoyed some of the nostalgia that was brought up as a result. But what do you got for us this week?
Good. Well, we'll keep on the nostalgia theme. We'll shift gears a little bit. Big East tournament coming up this week in the next couple of days. So, looking at some Big East tournament history, can you guys? I got a few questions. This will go on for a bit, but first of all, tell me if yes or no, any player has ever been the MVP of the Big East tournament more than once.
Yes. Yeah, they have, and then that I know at least one player has, and his name's Pearl Washington. Or no, Walter Berry was Pearl was the MVP of the year that St. John's beat him.
That is true, but Pearl did not get it more than once.
Oh, I thought he won it maybe the year before too. Okay, so that's wrong.
I'll say somebody from Pittsburgh.
No.
No, all right, I don't know.
Let me wait. I'm not ready to go just yet.
Patrick Ewing.
That's always a safe bet, but I'm going to say Chris Mullen. I'm going to say Chris Mullen.
Verk, you got this one. Patrick Ewing.
Oh, it was Ewing? Okay, good job.
It was the safe call, but it was the accurate one. I was surprised that he was the only one, quite honestly, because I thought somebody on Pitt would have gotten more than one. I thought that was
well, didn't they win
the run they had?
Yeah, they won a bunch in a row there at one point when they had Brevin Knight and those guys, and they seemed like they were winning the Big East tournament quite often there for a little while.
Yeah. So let me, sticking on the theme of the MVPs of the Big East tournament, can you guys tell me which, this is probably a little more straightforward, but which school has the most MVPs in the Big East tournament, which surprisingly doesn't align as cleanly with the number of championships?
Yeah, you'd think it would be. Usually the MVP of the tournament comes off the championship team.
Yeah, quite often the Big East has gone with somebody that lost if they've had a good run.
So we know it's not Pittsburgh or UConn then, I think. This player's not from Pittsburgh or UConn.
Is that an answer?
No, I'm trying to deduce. I'm trying to break it down my options because this is a tough one.
I'll say I'll go with UConn.
I'll go with Georgetown, seeing Ewing had at least two, so there's two. And I know that maybe Iverson and Mourning or Thella Harrington or Jeff Green. I don't know if any of these guys won it, or Mike Sweetney. I'll go with Georgetown.
Jim, you've got it. Georgetown has 9 MVPs.
All those guys I just named?
Yeah, that's a good portion of them. Obviously, Ewing had 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Craig Shelton had the first one back in 1980.
Oh, yeah, there's a blast from the past.
Mourning had 1. Victor Page had 1.
I remember that year.
Jeff Green had 1.
Victor Page is dead.
Is he?
Or no. He got in some trouble, arrested maybe, a serious drug arrest or something. Or maybe I'm just spreading
Speaking of that,
rumors.
Charles Smith also has 1 for Georgetown.
Yeah, that's right, Charles Smith.
Yeah, Reggie Williams. So they have 9. Second place is Syracuse and UConn, both with 6. So leading into the next question, can you name the 6 Big East tournament MVPs for Syracuse?
G-Mac.
He's 1.
Pearl.
2.
I would have to say Derek Coleman won 1, but that would be along the same time that both Billy Owens and Sherman Douglas were there. Geez, I think Sherman Douglas had to win at least one of those things. He was awesome in the Garden. Sherman Douglas? Okay. Now do I want to guess Coleman?
Leo Routins.
Oh, good one, Vert.
That was the easiest one.
Yep, very good. I was overlooking that one. So we need 2 more.
Johnny Flynn.
Johnny Flynn is right. That's
Wow, good one.
2009 in a losing effort.
Yeah.
So we got one more, and I think the candidates are Billy Owens, Derek Coleman, and Lawrence Moten are my candidates.
What about Billy Siak?
What about Dave Siak?
Or Dave Siak.
Got a funny story about Dave Siak. Freshman year at Syracuse, one of the first nights out on M Street, go to 44s, which doesn't exist anymore. But back then it was like one of the best bars on Marshall Street. And head into the bathroom, into the urinal, and who's standing to my right? But a frosty-haired, 6'10" guy, and it was Dave Siak. And I knew I'd arrived at Syracuse University when I was urinating next to Dave Siak at 44s. Remember him? He had gray hair at age 20.
It's really great.
How about John Wallace?
That's a good guess, too. He's another candidate. I'm going to go with Derek Coleman. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. I'm going with Coleman. No, I'm not. I'm going with Lawrence Moten. Burke's going with
John Wallace.
John Wallace.
Wrong.
Dave Johnson.
Damone Brown.
No. No. The year was 2005.
Oh, that's not too far long ago. 6 years ago. It was like Terrence Roberts and Darrell Watkins and.
Not either of those guys.
Yeah, no, I know it wasn't,
right,
but they were on the team.
Maybe.
Oh, it was Demetrius. It had to be Demetrius Nichols.
No, are you serious?
Well, 2005. Who the heck would be on that
Hakeem
team?
Warwick?
Hakeem Warwick, yeah.
Oh, of course. That was a dumb one, by me.
It's when he had that dunk on Notre Dame, right? Or was that at Syracuse? That was at home, right? Again, when he jumped over that guy from Notre Dame and dunked it.
I remember him posterizing a guy for Texas in the national semifinals in 2003.
Yeah.
Tell me how. So leading into that, tell me how many titles Syracuse has. You remember the years?
Oh, this is stuff that a guy like me should know off the top of my head. But I'm going to go with 1980 was a title. Leo Routins, right?
No, it was 81.
Oh, well, yeah, 80-81 season. I get confused with those sometimes. So 81.
2007. Or 6. What was it, McNamara's senior
I would
year,
say
right?
2005. Yeah, that was the 2005 was his senior year. No, 3,
No,
4.
he was a
6.
freshman in
2006. 2006.
2006 was the McNamara run. You're right.
Okay.
Now the year that.
How about 2005?
2005 was correct. That was when Warwick was the MVP. There was a 3 seed that year.
How about 1980? How about 1989?
Close, 88.
88. Coleman and Owens.
The finals. Sherm Douglas was MVP.
Senior year.
Steve Thompson was all-tournament. And Sherm Douglas was all-tournament. Coleman wasn't even all-tournament that year.
How about 83?
83, no.
Somewhere? Was there
I
another
don't
one
think
back then?
Pearl never won one, did he?
No, he didn't.
I mean, he was great down there, but the league was ridiculous, and Syracuse was on the outside of that Georgetown St. John's stranglehold of those were.
Yeah, I mean they could have easily won it in '86 at St. John's. Who's the guy that hit that shot?
Matt Brust.
Some white guy. I don't know.
Yeah, Matt Brust, I think.
Matt Brust.
Or Ron Rowan.
Ron Rowan. Oh, my heart.
Yeah, what was worse, though, is Pearl took the ball, went this length of the court in like 4 seconds and got it blocked by Walter Berry. I mean, I thought for sure, and really Pearl had done the job. He was just going to lay it in. It was more of a great play by Berry. What a matchup that was. I was upset.
Tournament team in '86: Reggie Williams, Walter Berry, Mark Jackson, Ronnie Cycli, Pearl Washington, Harold Presley.
Wow.
Love it.
That's a great tournament. I would watch that entire tournament right now if they had it on.
Golden Age.
Yep. So one more title they've got. Got most of them.
It's got to be one in the 90s, right?
Yep. 1992.
Jesus.
Morning was the MVP, but Syracuse won.
That was Lawrence Moulton.
Lawrence Moulton was all tournament. Dave Johnson was all tournament.
Lawrence Moulton was a freshman.
No, he would have been a sophomore that year, right, Brad? Or does he have that?
He graduated, I think, 95.
Yeah,
so he would have been a freshman.
Yeah,
Wow.
He was only 1 year ahead of me.
He came right in and scored. They were on probation that year. No postseason beyond the Big East tournament that year, I believe. Is that correct?
I think that was correct. I think you're right.
So, I mean, that was
92.
their season there.
No. That was the year they lost to UMass in the second round.
No, they wouldn't because they couldn't go to the NCAA tournament 1 year, remember?
Yeah, he's saying 92 they lost to UMass in the second round.
You're right, okay. Lawrence Moulton, one of the most underrated Orangemen ever in terms of...
He's all-time leading scorer.
Yeah.
Oh, he's one of the most underrated Big East players in history. I mean, yeah, the guy's outstanding, but he never had really much of an NBA career, so you kind of forget about him.
I saw him at the Dome during the Georgetown game. Club 44. Walked by, shook his hand, said, "How you doing, Lawrence?" And then I said, no, I didn't. I was going to say something about
Offered him some nachos.
poetry and Moulton. There's always this big thing, poetry and Moulton. We were students together at Syracuse, so he was from my era. He didn't remember me, though.
So Syracuse has lost in the finals 9 times.
Wow.
I know, isn't that something?
Yeah, that is crazy.
That's got to be a record, huh?
They've been in the finals 14 times out of 32 Big East seasons.
Not bad.
I bet. How many teams have won Big East championships?
Jesus.
Tournament championships.
Well, we got the obvious ones. We got Syracuse, yes. Georgetown, yes.
Marquette? I think
We got Connecticut, yes. St. John's, yes. Pittsburgh, yes.
Villanova,
yes. And then now we got to get down to it. Marquette, I'm going to say, if it had to be obviously been a recent one. Louisville, yes.
Yep.
Now the question becomes Notre Dame or Marquette, because I know Cincinnati hasn't, I know Rutgers hasn't, I know DePaul hasn't, and I'm pretty sure Providence hasn't. Although I could be wrong.
Seton Hall.
Seton Hall must have won. Yeah, they've won it back when Terry DeHare years.
Yep.
So it's really the question is then Marquette or Notre Dame.
West Virginia's won one.
Yeah, I had them.
Okay.
You've been marking them off, as I said, those?
Right now we're at 8, so...
I'm going to say, yes, Marquette has won one, but Notre Dame hasn't. Ugh, it's a tough call. So that's what I'm going to say. So I say 9. I'm going to guess 9. I don't know if Verk wants to go with that.
I'm going with 8.
You guys are woefully understated.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wait. I marked these wrong. All right, hold on. I didn't have Villanova marked. What?
I should have been counting.
So if Notre Dame won it, then it would be 10.
Including Marquette?
Including Marquette. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, you know what?
Wait,
you know what? We can't forget about teams that have left the conference.
Oh, that's true, too.
Oh, Verkhead didn't mark them all. So our original guess was 10 or 11. Me 10, Verk 11. But I think BC won it once.
Yeah.
So that would be another one. So we're up to 11. I would say 11. Verk's saying 12. I don't think Notre Dame ever won it.
I got 12.
I got 11.
Number.
What is it?
11 is the number.
11. So Notre Dame's never won it, right, Bram?
Here, I'll go down the list. So UConn and Georgetown both have 7. They have the most. Syracuse 5. St. John's has 3. Pitt has only 2, surprisingly.
Really? Yeah, geez.
BC has 2. Seton Hall has 2. West Virginia has 1. Louisville has 1. Villanova has 1. Providence has 1.
Oh. I don't remember. What year was Providence?
Providence was probably the...
I thought they did win one. 80... or no. It was...
94.
Yeah.
Michael Smith was the MVP.
The Big East was weak in the
Dickie
90s.
Simpkins, they had
Okay.
Rob Phelps all in all tournament. They beat Georgetown in the finals. They had a pretty good run. They were a 4th seed that year.
They had a nice run in the NCAA tournament there, and they had that Shamgod, whatever his name was.
Shamgod.
God Shamgod or whatever.
Yeah, they lose in the final 8 or something.
Yeah.
In the NCAAs.
They had a
That
nice
year
team.
around that time.
Yeah.
So here's what's crazy. You guys, we all kind of recall that Pitt had this great run in the Big East tournament. What it was 8 years. For 7 out of 8 years, they were in the finals.
Okay.
But only 2 of those years they actually win. So
Right.
5 times out of 8 years they lost in the finals.
Right.
They were always there.
They're always there.
All the more surprising why they're not there this year.
And that was what, the early 2000s, Brad, pretty much?
Yeah, their run started in 2001 all the way up through 2008.
Nice.
So those 8 years.
Yeah.
We're in 7 out of 8 finals.
Did you hear Minders got upset?
I did. I saw the halftime score. It's 98.
Oh, it was I didn't go. My father went, and obviously they didn't play well. It's disappointing. Obviously, I thought this was going to be back to back for them, but didn't go that way.
Yeah, especially for a team they almost beat by 50 last year.
Yeah, that's I think the Minders players kind of remembered that, and I don't know if
they didn't take it lightly because of it.
yeah.
One of the weirdest results I've ever seen, though, in terms of, a lot of with the high school basketball, obviously we can't watch all the games on TV, so a lot of times you're just looking at results, and that result was just a real shocker. Not that I would have been less surprised if they lost, 57 to 54, but to see that low scoring of an output from that team, but
Especially with the shot clock, it's surprising they couldn't put up any pace at all.
I mean,
with it.
9-8 at
Coach Field
halftime.
He said he was waiting for one of the guys to take over, kind of like what's happened most of the season. It just kind of never happened.
Yeah, it with the talent they have, it's just it's disappointing, but I'm sure the kids played hard and just didn't go their way.
Yeah.
So, Brad, have you been looking at? First of all, is that you got any more trivia, or was that the extent of it?
Yeah, I could probably go on, but that's.
Well, let's go one more. One more. Give me one more.
One more. How far did Syracuse get the year they won the national championship?
They lost in the first round.
Semis.
No. They did not lose in the first round.
Lost in the semis.
Yes. They lost in the semis to UConn, 80 to 67.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's
Well,
hard.
it was on the all tournament, but they that was surprising to me. I thought they would have had a better run that year.
Well, they were also down to 20 points to Oklahoma State in the third round of that tournament, in the Sweet 16. Yeah, it wasn't a team that I was that confident in winning a national title, but
How do you think that team compares to this year's team?
Good question. I mean, that team, Hubert Davis would have loved that team because they had a go-to guy. This team doesn't. But I think this team has stronger guys at every spot, like just more well-rounded guys. I mean, that team had Craig Forth at center.
Right.
He wasn't bringing much to the table offensively, certainly, and then defensively, it wasn't like he was a force like Fat Mello is.
Right. I think obviously Syracuse is better. They're stronger. This team is stronger at the center spot. The other spots, I think that 03 team probably has them in most of those spots. Except maybe point guard. No, not in depth. But if you go with starters, Carmelo at the 3 versus Chris Joseph, I mean, that's a pretty...
You don't think we're going to see Chris Joseph in the NBA All-Star game?
No.
No.
And then, the 4, Akeem Warwick versus... if C.J. Fair, I mean,
you got to go C.J. Fair there now. Christmas.
Yeah, C.J. Fair.
But with Warwick,
sophomores, it's
yeah.
I think offensively Fair is probably better at this stage, but I think Warwick was better defensively.
In the zone, yeah, they really came together for Warwick too. At the end of that season, he really, was incredible.
In the backcourt's a tough call. You want a McNamara or do you want a Deion Waiters?
Yeah, I mean McNamara is overrated. Waiters is underrated.
That was the thing, McNamara. You knew you had a 3-point guy that you could rely on.
Right.
Not only rely on, but he broke records along the way. The Kansas game for most 3-pointers in the first half of a championship game. I don't think Syracuse has anybody that's going to do that, but it could be wrong. Waiters could click. Trish could
they got
click.
guys capable, but then who would you take between Edelin and Scoop?
I love Billy Edelin. We barely knew him.
Well, Edelin was a freshman that year, so I'd definitely Scoop.
Yeah, and then the one piece of the puzzle was remember Josh Pace.
And Quet Duaney.
Yeah, and Duaney was good defensively.
He was pretty deep too, really.
Yeah. When let's start laying him out there. Pace was real sneaky. Fair reminds me of Pace in the way he scores in different ways. Especially nice touch in the paint. But yeah, I think I'd take Fair over Pace. So
he's more athletic. He's bigger.
Yeah, Fair is definitely better than Pace, but not Warwick. At
this stage.
At that stage, you know.
Yeah, I mean, matter of fact, I don't hear many people saying that C.J. Fair is a pro prospect, but I mean, I would think he could get there by his senior year. Where Warwick, I don't know, because I want to say, Warwick's athletic ability and his length, but C.J. Fair is an incredible athlete too. I mean,
and Fair might end up being the better player between those two. Warwick's freshman year, he didn't play that much really, and then he came on his sophomore year and developed into an NBA player, obviously, and the one thing he's got that Fair doesn't, he's 6'10" with. And, he could jump out of the gym. Fair is obviously very athletic, but he just doesn't have that height.
Yeah, I'd like to see what happens with C.J. Fair over the next 2 years. If he's able to put some size on, he could really be a physical presence where he's a bit more lean and lanky now.
Yeah, I mean, he could get bigger. I think he's tough, though, man.
Oh, he is. You're right.
So, anyways, it'll be interesting. So, now you took a look at oh, wait, did you have another trivia question that we cut off?
No, we're done.
Okay. The Big East, if you took a look at some of the pairings, how this might shape up, I haven't really looked at that, but I'm interested because I'm wondering who you got maybe potentially Syracuse meeting on Thursday.
Well, it's kind of complex now because there's a log jam right now for the second, third, fourth, fifth spots.
Yeah.
Marquette's 13-4, but you've got 3 teams at 12-5, and how things shake out this weekend, it could be. You've got Marquette, Georgetown, Notre Dame, South Florida, all jumbled 13-4, 12-5. I mean,
yep, that can all change.
Could jump all the way up. Notre Dame could be a 2 seed still. A lot of it depends on this weekend. Marquette and Georgetown play Saturday. That's going to be a huge game.
Yeah, one of those 4 teams is not going to get the first round bye, and the other 3 will. Right? 4 teams are going to get the bye.
Exactly.
So those teams you listed: Marquette, Georgetown, Notre Dame, South Florida. One of those is going to be out and have to play on Wednesday.
Right. And what will happen is, assuming seats hold, the 4 and the 5 will end up playing in a tremendous, quarterfinal game.
Yeah.
And then the winner to play Syracuse.
Yeah. So I mean, most likely it's looking too like, Syracuse. That Thursday game that Syracuse has is going to be a tough one. No matter who it is.
It lines up now. They'll either play. It looks like they'll play maybe Seton Hall, maybe West Virginia.
Yeah, neither team you want to play in your first opening round game, even if it is the quarterfinals.
Because both of those teams are coming off a game. They got they're shaking the butterflies out, and, one of those teams may even play 2 games. I mean, that was the advantage that UConn had last year.
Yeah.
They part of the reason they were able to run the table in the Big East tournament was because they got to get some of the kinks out against DePaul in the first round. They destroyed DePaul, and then they, took care of Georgetown, and then, they played the number 1 seed, and they're on a roll, and they beat them.
Yeah, and those teams, whatever team it is that plays Syracuse, you can bet they're going to need the win more than Syracuse needs it in terms of Selection Sunday.
Yeah, you're playing a desperate team in the postseason. That's trouble.
But
they've handled the element so far. I mean, I would love to see a Syracuse-Notre Dame rematch, honestly. I mean, you can say on the one hand I'd like to avoid Notre Dame, but, it wasn't the same Syracuse team without Fat Mello. I'd like to see how they match up. With a full squad.
Yeah, and not only that, I'd be concerned playing a team like UConn for the 3rd time. Especially you saw how tough it was to get by them in stores.
Sure.
So,
hey, let me ask you guys a question. Syracuse loses to Louisville, loses the first round Big East game. They still number 1 seed?
Oh yeah, it's a lock for them to be number 1 seed at this point.
I think it depends on what happens in the other conference tournaments.
Now they'd have 3 losses. They'd be 29-3. So you're saying like?
Well, I knew what Jim was going to say. What do you think, Brad?
Michigan State runs the table and Kansas runs the table.
In North Carolina beats Duke here, and they beat Duke in the ACC. North Carolina's the number 1 seed. Michigan State, Kansas.
Michigan State lost last night.
No, not last night.
Sure, who did they lose to recently?
Indiana beat them.
2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got 6 losses. That might be tough to put them in. You're right.
Yeah, so let's say Kansas.
About Duke, North Carolina.
Missouri. See, Missouri and Kansas can't both win their conference tournament, and Duke and Carolina can't both win their conference tournament.
But if, say, North Carolina beats Duke, and then Duke comes back and wins the conference beats, and it could shake out a little differently.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think we got that. I think Kentucky and Syracuse got those 1 seeds locked no matter what at this point.
Yeah, we'll see. It's just something to think about,
Yeah,
It came up.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen, but.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see him come out. Sunday against Louisville's a scary game. Yeah, we beat them in Louisville, but Louisville's now coming off a tough loss to South Florida, and we can't neglect the fact that Louisville has beaten Syracuse the 7 previous times before we beat them this year.
Man, I was torn watching that game last night because on the one hand, you want to see South Florida win. I'd love to see them make the tournament, but on the other hand, you didn't want an angry Louisville team coming into the Dome.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Brad, we talked about it. How many Big East teams do you got in?
I'd say 9.
9, really?
Yeah, I think 10's a definite possibility, and it's not because I said it before. I think it's because the overall field is weaker. When you get down to around the 60th best teams the committee will have lined up, I think that these Big East teams like Connecticut, West Virginia, and Seton Hall are going to have better resumes than the other teams that they're going up against, just because of the nature of the way it is. There's a lot more, a lot of the teams, ranked maybe say 80 to 150 have more wins than they did last year. You know what I mean? And they picked up wins against some of these, other mid-range teams. Like St. Joe's and Xavier.
Yeah, and those teams are losing too, so I think that helps. Some of these non-BCS schools had a rough early, non-conference where they lost games that they needed to win early on, where you say that's a good tournament win. And, like we talked about earlier, put them up there with no names next to them, and it looks like some of these BCS teams might have the better resume. Brad, do you follow Joe Lunardi's stuff a lot?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
It's just surprising to me that South Florida is so on the bubble with their Big East record. He's got them as the last 4 in, and it's just surprising that they got them, and he's still got Northwestern in as one of the last 4 in, and I don't see that happening.
I think that's a function of just the Big Ten, and just generally speaking that the Big Ten is so strong this year. I don't know why South Florida there's such skepticism. They had injuries earlier in the year, and that's why they were losing some of the games.
A lot of injuries.
They're a different team now, and if you want to put a lot of stock in the last 10 games, last 20 games, they're strong as the top 30 teams in the country. I can't imagine how there's even a question there.
Yeah.
I think it's a no-brainer.
If you're at worst, you're gonna be 12-6 in the Big East. They gotta get in, even if they lose. I guess if they lose the last game Saturday and then they lose the first round, I don't know, but I just think with their resume they got to get in, especially after that big win at Louisville.
Yeah, it'd be nice to pick up a 20th win. They're at 19 right now, but still, I agree that I think they're a lock to get in. I'd be shocked if they didn't. Cincinnati's another team, Brad, that you've seen in person this year. More than once. Big win against Marquette. That seals the deal for the Bearcats. They're going to be dancing.
Definitely does. That was a huge win for them last night. They took Marquette apart. If you guys saw any of that game,
I watched the whole thing pretty much.
The finish. Yeah, that's they're clicking on all cylinders when they can get their inside-out game working like they did. They haven't had that all season. There's some games that they're a weird team because they'll lose to Rutgers, they'll lose to St. John's, but then they beat a Georgetown, they beat a Marquette, and obviously played Syracuse tough and
lose the Presbyterian.
Yeah, but I think the good wins they have offset the crappy losses they have.
Yeah, well, actually, looking at teams out of the Big East, that when I'm filling out my brackets next week, next weekend, late Sunday night, when I start filling out my brackets, Cincinnati's a team that I think I'm going to have making a run in a couple of my pools for sure. I like their makeup, and I like them to make a run in the postseason.
I'd like to see the Big East have a better showing than they did last year. What'd they get? How many teams got in last year? 9, and they only advanced 2 to the Sweet 16.
Yeah. Which is gonna. I'd like to see.
It wasn't a horrible
too.
thing, but
it's just they won the national title. But,
yeah,
and it was their 9th place team that did it. Yeah,
Syracuse played Marquette, which was the last thing you ever want to see.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I
root for the conference.
Yeah, I that's what the NCAA tournament's all about. I'm a huge fan of the Big East come conference time, and they didn't have a great showing for as good as the league was last year. I was looking on the internet the other day, and some of the Louisville got bounced. I think they lost in the first round, didn't they? The Morehead State, was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Morehead State had that big guy, which I don't know what ever happened to him, but Big East had some bad losses last year in the tournament.
Yeah, well, the thing about that is
Georgetown lost early.
Yeah, a lot of them lost.
There's
There's upsets every year, and if you have 9 teams in the tournament, there's more of a chance that
sure.
You're going to get upset.
I think the Big East was by far and away the best. Obviously, the 9th place team won the championship.
But you like to see them dominate, get maybe 2 teams in the Final Four.
You always kind of judge it by
16.
the tournament,
Yeah,
and they didn't have a great
does.
showing. So it would be nice if they could. This year everybody's saying the Big East is down a little bit. Let's make a run.
I think the
here.
whole country's down, though. I mean, that's
Yeah.
why Syracuse, the so-called elite schools. I think you got Syracuse, Kentucky. I think teams like Ohio State and even Duke and North Carolina and Michigan State and and Kansas is playing better now too. But all these other teams have been a notch below. Their body of work has been a notch below Syracuse and Kentucky.
No doubt.
So it should be interesting, And then the worst part about it is that it's as great a season as Syracuse had. If they don't come ready to play in the second round, they're going to lose to an 8 or 9 seeded team that could be
Kansas State or there's some good. The 1-8 games. Those are tough games.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams out there that scare you. You're going to be playing a like a Virginia maybe or a Kansas State or
a team with the firepower to have an on night and you have an off night and that's it. See you later. Season over. Podcast over. If Syracuse loses, Virk, we're done with this podcast.
30-1. Let's say they win the Big East tournament and they'll be 33-1 and lose in the final 8. Is that season a disappointment? At 36-2.
Yes.
Disappointing season.
Well, wait. No, it was a great season, but it was a huge missed opportunity because, and I don't always agree with this, but you're judged by championships, and Syracuse hasn't won one since 2003. We thought maybe they might be, they haven't been to a Final Four since 2003.
I think you're judged by Final Fours. I would almost say, UConn last year, 9th place in the Big East. Nobody barely remembers that. They remember national championship.
Yeah.
If you come on. Make the Final Four. Butler even struggled a little bit in the regular season last year, but they went back to the Final Four. That's all anybody remembers. And obviously Syracuse having a great year, but that's the greatest thing to watch is the NCAA tournament, and it's one and done. You can be one and done, and just like that, in a blink of an eye, you have a bad night and it's done.
What makes it great also makes it hurt so bad. It's a very real thing. A lot of seniors playing their last game. They don't expect it to be their last game when the ball tips, and then all of a sudden, Vermont is playing in the 3rd round and Syracuse is going home. Stuff like that.
It'd be such a shame if the greatest season in the history of the program. I mean, they could be literally 36-2 and lose in the final 8, and that's all you'll remember. The history of the greatest team in the history of the program.
Yeah. I mean, they have a chance to end up 39-1 if they win the whole thing. And we were talking. I don't remember anybody ever winning 40 games.
They got to win 10 straight from here on out to make that happen. But if any team can do it, it's this one. They've proven that they know how to win games. I'm hoping that they don't take the attitude that we're just we got a 15-point lead and then they let up and they come back and then this time we don't pull it out. Yeah. So.
Always happens because he takes the air out of the ball and everybody ends up coming back and they hold him off at the end.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about the UConn game too much, but that was a typical playing unbelievable, then kind of not sure exactly what happened. Next thing you know, it's tied with a minute to go, and Syracuse got some big putbacks to pull it out.
Well, maybe we should get to our power rankings now. The scheduling for this show the next couple of weeks while we got you on the line, Brad. I don't know. Do we want to do a show next Thursday night after? I think what we should do is come back on either Tuesday or Wednesday.
You're going to be in New York.
Well, not till Friday. Only going semis. That's why Syracuse needs to win Thursday. Semis and finals, Friday, Saturday. We got the sectional final games coming up this weekend that we're going to want to talk about. So maybe we'll sneak in a show on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week and then come back on Sunday night for the big one, Selection Sunday, 9 o'clock. Have your brackets ready, Brad, for that one. That one's going to be a 100% NCAA podcast. We'll no Section 5 basketball. We're just going to be hitting hard and analyzing those brackets that just came out.
Depending on how things go this weekend, there might not be any.
I shouldn't say that. If some teams do advance, we're always going to.
I mean, there will only be one. We got Lyons and DeSales, Honeoye, and Palmac.
So we'll know as of next week. When we get our show in next week, we'll discuss those games, and then Sunday night it's going to be officially the madness will have begun. A lot happening right now. Instead of just the power rankings this week, give me your 4 number 1 seeds. Go ahead, Brad.
First of all, where the hell did you get this picture on the? Notice this thing.
If you look good.
I don't know where this picture came from.
Search. Go to Google, type in Brad Connor, and then click on images to the left.
Holy crap!
It'll be one. You'll be up there with about another, 50 to 100 other Brad Connors throughout the world. It's funny. I had a good time. There's Brad Connor firemen. There's Brad Connor like guitar players.
I need to scrub my digital imagery.
Yeah. But you like that new graphic? Maybe I made it a little too big. You're kind of blocking out me and Verk a little bit. Maybe I'll shrink it down. But
yeah, I'd rather that picture be a lot more Verk than me. My top 4 seeds. I've got North Carolina. I've got Kansas. I've got Syracuse. I've got Kentucky.
Wow, I'm surprised you got North Carolina in there, but.
I think they're going to beat Duke, and I think they're going to run the table in the tournament. They're a much more talented team. They lost on a fluke against Duke. I don't think it's going to happen again.
I'll go with mine. I got the same 4, Brad. I've been I stuck with Carolina for a lot this year, kind of backed off a little bit, but I agree. They got 2 losses this year, the Duke game, and where obviously Rivers hit the amazing shot, and then they really should have beat Kentucky. They had a last-second shot that got blocked. Take those. Right there's 2 games. They only got 4 losses. I think they're going to win the ACC tournament. I think they're going to beat Duke Saturday night, and I think they're going to get a 1 seed. And then I got Kentucky, Cuse, and Kansas to follow it up with.
Yeah, I got Syracuse, number 1 overall seed. Kentucky, number 2 overall seed. Kansas, number 3 overall seed, but that could change. That could just be a flat Big 12 champion, Big 12 tournament champ. But for now, I'll say Kansas. And then, I think whoever wins that ACC tournament may sneak in and get that 4th seed. But, Michigan State comes back, wins the Big 10 tournament. They could possibly snag it. Even Ohio State if they win the Big 10 tournament. But
Ohio State's got 6 losses.
Yeah, that's true. But North Carolina and Duke could potentially end up with that many, or no? No,
I'd see Missouri before I'd see Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I say, a lot of this obviously depends on what happens in the tournaments, which was another thing that makes the conference tournament so great.
How crazy was Missouri's loss to Kansas? Boy, they had that game in their hands.
Yeah, it's everything's so tight. It seems, which is another reason I feel so good about Syracuse is this season has never been tight. The tight games haven't even felt tight. It's where every other game I watch, it's just like tooth and nail. One night Kansas looks terrible, the next night they look great. One Duke loses to Miami at home and ekes out a win against Virginia Tech, and then the next game goes to Carolina and wins. It's but that's not happening for Syracuse, or Kentucky. But Kentucky's a little harder. I mean, look, Kentucky has Florida or Vandy, and really that's the only time they're getting tested in the SEC. And honestly, Florida and Vandy aren't that impressive this year. So I have a tougher time gauging Kentucky than I do Syracuse. I look at Syracuse. Brad, last week your trivia was how many teams have ever had 2 losses in the Big East. Well, Syracuse with a win against Louisville becomes the only team to ever go through the Big East with only 1 loss. And so you got to recognize that is this team is special. They're cut above, and I expect them to advance in the postseason to the Big East tournament crown and to the Final Four. And yeah, you know what? If they don't, I will be disappointed. I will be disappointed.
You know,
You're beating Georgia by 30 right now, by the way.
and you know, Brad, you know how Jim's got to root hard for Syracuse in that semifinal on Thursday. I got to root really hard for him throughout the NCAAs because I'm going to New Orleans this year. So I've been to the last two. This will be my third in a row. So I'm dying to see Syracuse there this year.
Yeah, Vert goes every year to the Final Four. Did you know that, Brad?
He's connected.
I got connections, yeah. So, you know, I think it'll be awesome to I thought it was going to be in Indianapolis when I was going to see Syracuse there, and then Onowaco got hurt and Butler beat Syracuse. And I ended up seeing Butler in Indianapolis, but, you know, I really wish that was Syracuse. But
this year,
I'm dying for them to be there this year.
something about the Cuse in New Orleans, too. Another thing we got going for us. You know, the Final Four's in New Orleans.
Is that where they won it in 03?
That's where they lost it in 87 to Keith Smart, and that's where they won it in 03.
Okay.
And so it's our kind of town, I think.
Where they tied the Sugar Bowl in 80.
That's true. That's true. All right, Brad, you know, thanks again for calling in tonight. We'll obviously be in touch with the scheduling for next week. We know you're going to be with us on Sunday night. That's going to be a lot of fun, you know, breaking down the brackets just a few hours after they came out. So, you know, thanks again, Brad, for another great edition of Connor's Corner.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
See you, Brad.
All right. Well, we're at an hour and 20 minutes. I guess it's probably time that we should wrap this thing up. You know, best time of the year. Best time of the year. Congratulations to Palmac, Lyons, DeSales, East Rochester, Honeoye. You know, we talked about that earlier before sectional started. That it's always exciting when sectionals come to see how the Wayne Finger Lakes teams do and how they represent. And so a lot of representation. You know.
Yeah, it's great to see. You know, kind of shows the strength of these leagues, even with, you know, the big upset with Miners losing. But, you know, there's 5 other teams from the Finger Lakes East and West and Wayne County who are representing the area. And, you know, best of luck to all those teams. And we're obviously rooting for those guys to pull it out and continue on into sectionals and the qualifiers and hopefully up to Buffalo.
Well, you know, keep an eye on the FingerLakes1.com front page for the results of those games this weekend. And, you know, if you're on Twitter, you can follow us at Upstate Hoops. If you're on Facebook, we're there. And, you know, we'll see you next week.
See ya.
www.fingerlakes1.com